So we've talked about every NBA team's best players so far this season and their most disappointing. And now let's talk about every team's either most underrated player that not enough people are talking about, or at least most surprising player that not a lot of people thought that they were going to be this good this season. So if you guys enjoy these style of videos, I'd appreciate it if you could drop a thumbs up. Let's see if we can get 1,000 likes. And like always, if you disagree or agree with any of my picks, or there's somebody I didn't mention that you think deserves some love, let me know in the comments below. Also subscribe to the channel if you are not already for all NBA content this whole season. Also, I got some mock drafts coming out soon. Very excited for those since the college basketball season just started up. Also, I'm recording this before the weekend games, and if you guys see this on Sunday, I'm sorry if I mentioned one of your favorite players and I jinxed them and they ended up going 0 for 20 over the next 2 games. So let's start off with the Big Apple. Let's go to the New York Knicks, and I think their most underrated player this year has been Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson said he was up for the challenge against Wembanyama on Wednesday night on November 8th, and he really showed out against them. Wemby had arguably the worst game of his season so far, and Mitchell Robinson was phenomenal on him on the defensive side of the floor when he was guarding Wemby. Even though Mitch Rob isn't going to put up the most points per game, and he's not going to be the most flashy offensive player, this dude is so important to the New York Knicks on the offensive and defensive glass, as well as just an overall rim protector. He's averaging 12.5 total rebounds on the season, 6 of those being offensive rebounds. He's just a monster on the offensive glass. He's also averaging a steal and a half and a block a night. He should be in the defensive player of the year conversation already, and a lot of his stuff won't show up in the box score, but he has just been so important to the New York Knicks and is one of their top guys this season. So an easy one of this for the Brooklyn Nets could have just been me saying Cam Thomas, but I want to give some love to Lonnie Walker, who's having arguably the best season of his career. Lonnie Walker is in year 5 now, has spent time in San Antonio, LA, and now Brooklyn, and his offensive game is off to an incredible start, averaging 16 points throughout his first 7 games for the Nets this season, and I'm super impressed by his efficiency. He's shooting 52% from the field and 43% from 3 on 5.5 attempts a night, so the volume is there too. This is incredibly impressive from Lonnie Walker, being one of the top offensive Nets this season. I'm very excited to see how he's going to adjust with no Cam Thomas over the next couple of weeks, and will he step up for this Nets team going forward. A lot of what he does not show up in the box score either, but I gotta give some love to Derek White, who ESPN does not think is a top 100 player in the NBA for some reason. Derek White has just been absolutely incredible for the small sample size games he has played for the Boston Celtics this year. He's averaging 16 points, 4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists while shooting 54% from the field, 46% from 3, and 86% from the line. He's also giving the Celtics over a block and steal a night, and is just everywhere on the defensive side of the floor. He just plays with such high basketball IQ. I love watching him and Drew Holiday in the backcourt defensively together because they are just both so great, complementing each other, and just can really help each other out because they're both just so smart on that side of the floor. And I think Derek White is one of the more underrated players in the NBA still. I thought he was underrated back in 2019. I have a tweet that I talked about when he was on the Spurs that I thought he was the most underrated player when they were playing the Nuggets in round 1 of the playoffs, and I still think he's massively underrated here in 2024. You may like him, you may really like him, but Kelly Oubre here has just been phenomenal for the Sixers out of the gate. We all thought in the offseason, yeah, Kelly Oubre kind of fell off a little bit, spent a little bit of time in Charlotte, kind of looked like he put up some empty stats on these teams, was not really resulting into any wins. So he signed for basically the veteran minimum at $2 million this season with the 76ers to prove himself right, and he's doing just that. He's averaging 17.5 points and 5 rebounds so far for Philly this year, and the efficiency has been amazing, something that's been kind of a negative throughout the first 7 years of his career. He was just kind of inefficient at times, but this year he's been super inefficient. 52% from the field, 41% from 3, 80% from the line. He's been such an important piece to the Sixers' hot start here this season, and if there's ever a point where he's moved to the bench for the Sixers because their bench is not great offensively, he could make a real run for 6th man of the year this season. And let's go up to Canada. Let's talk about the Toronto Raptors and Dennis Schroeder, who's been one of the best free agency additions from this past offseason. So Dennis Schroeder signed from the LA Lakers. He also played phenomenal for Team Germany when they ended up winning the gold this past summer in the FIBA World Cup. And in 33 minutes a night to start off the year, Dennis Schroeder has been fantastic for the Raptors, giving them 17 points, 3 rebounds, and 8 assists, while also shooting 47% from the field and 40% from 3. These are semi-all-star caliber numbers, which I did not expect at all from Dennis Schroeder, so I'm really glad he found a home because he was really good at the end of his Atlanta tenure, and then he was solid in OKC. He did fumble the bag in LA, but I'm glad, you know what, he did just sign $25 million guaranteed for this year and next year, 12.5 this year, 13 million next year, and it looks like he's a piece to stay here in Toronto. But if they decide to sell at the deadline, he could net them a very solid return the way he's playing. I could have went Marcus Sasser for the Detroit Pistons because he's surprised the hell out of me this season, but I really liked him coming out of Houston. I'm gonna go with Isaiah Stewart, Big Stu, because I think he's been underrated for Detroit this season. So Detroit, not off to a great start team record wise, but I don't think it's because of Isaiah Stewart. We all know that really Isaiah Stewart is going to be a star in this league, but ever since getting drafted in 2020 out of Washington, he's been a really solid contributor for this Pistons squad. This is year year 4 now with Detroit. He did sign that new extension this past offseason. He's giving the Pistons in almost 10 games this year, 12 points, 7.5 rebounds, but I really like his improvement from downtown. In his age 19 season as a rookie, he shot 33% from 3. The following year, his sophomore year, he shot 32% from 3. Year 3 last year, he also shot 32% from 3, and this year shooting almost 43% from 3. I just love that improvement from somebody that can give you some solid defense and can now space the floor for you. That is just a valuable piece to have in today's NBA. Let's stay on that 2020 draft, and this guy had bust written all over him throughout the first couple years. The Phoenix Suns, who drafted him 10th overall, gave up on him just a year and a half into his NBA career, and Indiana has turned his career around, and the player I'm talking about is Jalen Smith. Jalen Smith has been phenomenal for the Indiana Pacers this year. I could have went with a bunch of guys. Also shout out Aaron Nesmith as well. The Pacers have like 5 most improved candidates, it seems like, and they just have a really deep squad, but Jalen Smith has been great, averaging 12 points, 7 rebounds, shooting 71% from the field, and also been an incredible 3-point shooter as well, shooting 66% from 3 this season on almost 2 attempts a night. Like, where did this come from? I just love to see the development of Jalen Smith, and he's just a prime example of why you should not give up on these players earlier in their careers, because they can completely turn around, and some players just take a little bit longer to develop than others. I mentioned Schroeder before. If like the Raptors decide to make a trade at the deadline, he could net them a solid return. Well, the Bulls could really net a great return for Alex Caruso if they decide to trade him. Man, we know how elite Caruso is on the defensive side of the floor this season, and just basically in his career. He's arguably the best perimeter guard on the defensive side of the floor in the NBA, up there with Drew Holiday and Derek White and Marcus Smart as well. And Caruso is having one of the better offensive seasons of his career. He's not going to average 15 points a night, but he's just a guy with high basketball IQ, plays hard, and is not going to lose you games. 8 points on the season per game, 4 rebounds, 2.5 assists, shooting 59% from the field, 44% from 3, and averaging 1.6 steals a night. He's one of the better point of attack defenders in the NBA, and this is just in 23 minutes a night. He would just be such a great piece to have when you're trying to win a championship, and that's why I think a team will give up maybe multiple first-round picks for him at the deadline. Let's give some props to Marjon Beauchamp, the second-year man out of the G League Ignite for the Milwaukee Bucks. Beauchamp has been great to start off year 2 of his NBA career, and this is just so important for the Bucks, who did not have a deep bench going into the season, and they really needed Beauchamp to break out. Beauchamp was the 24th overall pick in the 2022 draft. He definitely had a rookie season to forget, was inefficient at times, kind of looked lost out there. But this year, we've seen his minutes increase, going up from 13 minutes a game last year to 17 minutes this year. He's averaging just under 8 points a night on good efficiency, 56% from the field, 47% from 3, 80% from the line. And I've really liked what I've seen from him progress on the defensive side of the floor as well. Hey, they're going to have a lineup out there with Brook Lopez, Middleton, Giannis, and Lillard, and he may be that 5th man that they're going to choose over Malik Beasley and Pat Connaughton when it comes to playoff time in April, May, and June. Man, where did he find these guys? We got to shout out Hayward Highsmith for them. Now, Highsmith definitely came onto the scene last year for the Heat, but we've seen his volume and his minutes take an uptake this year. He's shooting 59% from the field for the Heat, giving them 9 points a night. Also taking 4 threes a night and hitting 50% of them. He's an elite 3-point shooter. He's also a really solid defender, an underrated shot blocker and rim protector for the Heat. He's a 6'7" forward that can kind of be a combo forward, play the 3, the 4, and even play the small ball 5 if needed. And of course, he was a former undrafted collegiate player out of Wheeling University. Like I said, where do the Heat find these guys? So offensively, it's not the season that Jalen Suggs would have liked, but I think what we've seen from him on the defensive side of the floor can earn him a spot for this video. Suggs has been a great point of attack defender, on-ball and off-ball defender, and when you watch him play for the Orlando Magic, he plays with so much heart and energy and hustle, and he's just somebody that you value to have on the floor for you. I did say, yeah, that he's been struggling from the field. 36% from the field, 25% from 3, but he's a really good free throw shooter, so I do think that 3-point shot can come along. He's still only 22 years old, and if he can just get that efficiency up a little bit, his defense alone can earn him a spot in a good team's rotation, and if he could just add on to that efficiency, he could be a perfect role player for a championship team one day. We got somebody that's going to be in the most improved conversation all year long, and that is Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think he's a top 2 choice at the moment, but he should definitely be in the conversation. Jalen Johnson's improvement from last year to this year has just been insane. He's gone from 5.6 points a night in year 2 to 14.3 points a night for the Hawks this season. He's gone from 4 rebounds a night to 9 rebounds, 1 assist to almost 3, half a steal a night to almost 1.5 as well, and the efficiency has been very solid. 58% from the field, 31% from 3, and ever since the Hawks traded John Collins this past offseason, Jalen Johnson has taken advantage of the increase in his opportunities. A lot has not gone right for the Washington Wizards this year, but we gotta give some love to Denny Avdia, who has really taken a step in year 4 so far, averaging career highs in points per game, field goal percentage, and 3-point percentage, when he's averaging 13 points a night, 5.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, a very underrated part of Denny's game. He's shooting 53% from the field, 47% from 3, and 79% from the line. That was always a big thing with Denny's efficiency. Will he be able to improve on that? And he's done just that in year 4 and really looks like a steal of a contract that he signed this past offseason for the Wizards at 4 years, $55 million. We got to give some more love to Mark Williams over there in Charlotte. He's been arguably the second best player for the Hornets this season behind LaMelo Ball. I did not think that Mark Williams was going to be this good right away in year 2. I loved him a lot coming out of Duke, but I thought it was going to take some time for him to really develop in the NBA. Maybe not hit his stride till year 3, year 4. Well, he was phenomenal in the second half of his rookie season last year, and he's been so good for the Hornets this year. So far this season, he's averaging 14.5 points, 8 rebounds a night, and is leading the NBA in field goal percentage at the moment I'm recording this video at 83%. He's been great on the defensive side of the ball and really looks like a long-term franchise center for the Charlotte Hornets, and they really aced this pick back in 2022. You know who's been very solid for the Dallas Mavericks in their starting lineup this year? Derrick Jones Jr. Yeah, Derrick Jones Jr. might be having the best year of his career in year number 8. I feel like it's been forever since he entered the NBA as an undrafted rookie in 2016. He's now in his 15th now at only the age of 26 years old, and he's having a very good year for the Mavericks in the lineup. Like I said, 9 points a night on really good efficiency. He's shooting 53% from the field and 38% from 3. He's also giving them around 2.5 rebounds a night, not playing bad defense by any means. And for only $2 million this year from the Mavericks, he's been well worth all of that. I still don't know how he fell to the Pelicans at 14 because I loved him in the pre-draft process. Gotta shout out Jordan Hawkins here. His overall efficiency will come around, but through his first 8 games in the NBA, he's averaging 13 points, 3.5 rebounds, and almost 2 assists a night while shooting 38% from the field and 37% from 3, and also giving them 80% from the line. I think Hawkins has also been a really good defender so far to start off his NBA career, and he had an insane performance in game number 7 against the Nuggets. They did end up losing it, but he had 31 points and 7 rebounds. He shot 10 for 19 from the field, which is 53%, and he shot 7 for 14 from 3, 50% from downtown. He already had like a career game in just game number 7, and he's going to be such a big bench piece for the Pelicans throughout the remaining part of this season. There's been a lot of good players for the Rockets this year, but I still got to talk about Dillon Brooks. He's been phenomenal for them. Dillon Brooks in his first 7 games for the Rockets is averaging 15 points, 4.5 rebounds, and shooting 57% from the field. Yeah, you heard me right. 57% and 54% from 3. Like, what? That is just not what Dillon Brooks has been. And he's also shooting 94% from the line. This dude is just not missing this year. He's being the Canadian Steph Curry. He had a good FIBA World Cup run this past summer for Canada, and he's been phenomenal to start off his career with the Rockets. A contract that we all thought was a little bit of an overpay at $80 million over 4 years, but he has been well worth that because he's also giving you all NBA caliber defense. So you add that on top of his elite shooting start, Dillon Brooks has just been so underrated just as an overall player for the Rockets this season, and has definitely surprised me, and I feel like a lot of you guys as well. So the Grizzlies have had not a lot go right for them so far this season. They're off to a pretty poor start, and they're still without Ja Morant for a decent amount of time. But a player that's been good in year 2 has been David Roddy. He's been better than Jake LaRavia, better than Zaire Williams in my opinion, and Roddy's taken a nice step in year 2. So the second year man out of Colorado State is averaging 8 points and 3.5 rebounds. He's shooting 50% from the field and 80% from the line. I think he's been fine on the defensive side of the ball as well, and I think he's playing well enough to also be a rotational guy for the Grizzlies down the stretch for the remainder of the regular season. Okay, the San Antonio Spurs have not been great so far this season. Obviously, Wembanyama has taken the league by storm though, but I'm going to give this to another big man, Zach Collins, who I think's been pretty respectable for the Spurs. Collins is playing a ton of minutes a night for them, 30 minutes a night for the Spurs throughout his first 8 games of the year, where he's averaging 14 points, almost 7 rebounds a night, as well as 4 assists, which has been a nice underrated part of Collins' game. He's shooting 53% from the field and averaging almost a steal and over a block per night on the year. Collins could definitely net a nice return for the Spurs at the deadline if they were to move him. Man, this guy is just the typical elite role player that you want to have on your team, and that's Kentavious Caldwell-Pope for the Denver Nuggets. Man, we got to give KCP more respect. Like I said, perfect role player, perfect 3-and-D guy. He's shooting 43% from downtown this year, has yet to miss a free throw. He's definitely going to have to step up a little bit in the absence of Jamal Murray while he's nursing a hamstring injury. Also wanted to give a shout out to Julian Strawther, the rookie out of Gonzaga, and the second-year man Peyton Watson, who's given the Nuggets some nice minutes off the bench so far in his second year. The Utah Jazz are not off to a good start by any means, but their new trade acquisition from the offseason, John Collins, has been solid for them. Collins is averaging around 15 points and 8.5 rebounds for the Jazz so far, while shooting 53% from the field and 37% from three. Guys like Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Taylor Horton-Tucker have not lived up to the hype that they showed last year, but Collins is improving from what he did last year as a Hawk in his first year with the Utah Jazz, and he's making $25 million this year, $26 million next year, and $26 million in 2026. So the Jazz hope he plays at this level still while he enters probably the last few years of his prime. I have no idea who to give this award to for the Portland Trailblazers, so I'm just going to use this time to talk about one of my favorite young players in the league, Shaedon Sharpe. Because Shaedon Sharpe in year 2 is actually averaging the most points per game out of any sophomore right now at 19.9, and he's doing it on solid efficiency as well. 44% from the field, 36 from three, and 83 from the line. He also just turned 20 a few months ago, and he's looking like he may be the best young asset that this Trailblazers team has, and that's impressive, saying a lot too, with guys like Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons on the squad. Let's talk about a rookie here for the OKC Thunder, and that's Cason Wallace. Wallace has just been a beast on the defensive side of the floor this year, being one of the better defensive rookie guards just in general. He's also been super efficient as well, currently top 5 in true shooting percentage in the NBA. He's averaging 9 points and 2.5 rebounds and shooting 69% from the field, 57% from three, and is yet to miss a free throw shot. So you're getting a mixture of 3 and D from a rookie who's just turned 20 years old, and it looks like the Thunder hit a home run with this pick as well. Mike Conley has been good for the Timberwolves this year, but I want to talk about Naz Reid, who has arguably been the best big man on this team, and that's with Supermax Karl-Anthony Towns on it, and Rudy Gobert, who's also I'm going to give a shout out to because he's looked phenomenal for the Timberwolves this year. But Naz Reid has been as efficient as you can ask for a big man. He's 24 years old. He's averaging 15 points and around 4.5 rebounds a night. He's shooting 55% from the field and 44% from three, as well as 93% from the line. Yes, somebody that's 6'9" is a 50-40-90 guy right now. I know it's still a small sample size, but Naz Reid has looked phenomenal, so his contract just looks even better. He's making $13 million this year, $14 million next year, and then $15 million with a player option in 2026 that it's looking like he's going to opt out to if he's playing at this level. The Lakers are off to a kind of a rocky start as well, but Rui Hachimura has been good for them. Hachimura obviously got extended this past offseason. He's starting off the season for the Lakers on a good note, 12 points and 4 rebounds, shooting 54% from the field and 41% from three, and shooting 41% from three on 3 attempts a night as well, so a decent sample size in that department. And with guys that have been struggling to start off the year, like Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish, Austin Reeves, the Lakers really needed somebody like Rui to step up. Also, don't really know who to pick for the Clippers in this scenario, but I'm going to give some love to Russell Westbrook. So we all know that the Clippers just acquired James Harden, and it does not look like that they're off to a great start with Harden right away. But Russ, man, he's been kind of underrated this year. He's off to a really good start to his first full year with the Clippers, averaging 15 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists a night. And also shout out to Russ for his efficiency too. 50% from the field and 35% from three. Hell yeah, I'll take that from a 34, almost 35-year-old Russ. I actually think you guys may be seeing this video on his birthday, so if you're seeing this on November 12th, happy birthday, Russ. If not, happy close to your birthday. I could have gave some love to Grayson Allen for the Phoenix Suns, who's been stepping up in the absence of Devin Booker and Bradley Beal at times, but I want to give some love to Josh Okogie, who's been phenomenal for the Suns on the defensive side of the floor. Okogie, who just turned 25 2 months ago, has been off to a really good start for the Suns as their top perimeter defender this season. He's not going to knock your socks off in the offensive side of the ball, where he's just averaging 47% from the field and 84% from the line. Solid numbers, nothing too crazy, 8 points, 3.5 rebounds a night. But like I said, he's going to be their top perimeter defender, especially when they're playing meaningful games in April and May, and he's going to be such an important part of this Suns squad. Alright, this guy alone makes me just happy I'm doing this video where I can talk about guys that I didn't think I would be talking about possibly all year long, and that's JaVale McGee for the Sacramento Kings. Yep, JaVale McGee, who's been a massive upgrade over just kind of the plethora of backup big men that the Kings have had over the last couple of years, most recently Alex Len. And yeah, JaVale McGee has been solid for the Kings this year, averaging 8 points and 3 rebounds, shooting 63% from the field in just 12 minutes a night. And when do I ever get to give love to JaVale McGee on this channel? He's 35 years old, he's at the end of his career, so you know what? Shout out to the Shaqtin' Fool legend. And lastly, I want to talk about the Golden State Warriors, and I want to give love to another veteran, Dario Saric, as well. Saric has been a nice backup big for the Warriors this season. He's going into year 7. He's currently averaging 8 points and 7 rebounds for them, 2 assists a night as well, shooting 41% from the field, 37% from 3, and 80% from the line. He's still a crafty offensive big man, so I'm excited for him to play meaningful games this year with the Golden State Warriors. So yeah, that is going to be it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if there's any underrated or surprising players in a good way that you've seen this year that I didn't mention in the video. So yeah, please let me know in the comments. And always, if you guys did enjoy, I would appreciate you dropping a thumbs up. I love you guys like always as well, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.